try to explain to people what cloud is, and I said, you know what, we're gonna turn this into a talk, and we're gonna take it out to some conferences, and we're gonna try to explain to people and try to level set on cloud and what options are. So just a real quick intro. My name is John Ross. I come all the way from Orlando, Florida. You can take a look. I'm a technical product manager at Rackspace. I'm also an MVP of SharePoint Server. But if you're interested in checking out, I got a couple books here that if you're a SharePoint type, this new book is just coming out. So if you're looking to make SharePoint look pretty, check it out. But here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me through my blog or on Twitter, and we can have some more. We can continue the discussion about the cloud. But so as I said, I mean, in this presentation, we're going to talk about what cloud means. We're going to talk about what is cloud computing, what options we have for the different types of cloud, and so we're going to cover that. We don't have much time here. These presentations are pretty quick, so in about 15 minutes, we're going to try to cover the full breadth of what options we have in the cloud. But we also want to talk about where does SharePoint fit into the cloud, because cloud is you don't even have to be on the Windows platform or the Microsoft platform in order to use cloud, but in terms of SharePoint's what I spend a lot of time on, what I do day in and day out. So when we talk about SharePoint in the cloud, what does that mean, and how does SharePoint fit into those various cloud options, and how can we bring all that together into a solution that will help drive your business and hopefully drive return on investment. We hop in our DeLorean for a second, take a trip back in time, and go back to the old days, or maybe for some folks this is still present day, but this is how things used to be. This idea of how we used to think about how we would build our infrastructure. We would have our building, create our data center, we put servers in our data center, and we hire people to manage them, and everybody was happy. It was a very easy process, and I think in a lot of cases this is something that's still happening today. It's not a bad thing. But there's a problem. When we think about this stuff, on-premises hosting can be expensive. The idea that you buy all the hardware and everything like that, you pay for people to maintain it and support it. You buy your software licensing and all that other stuff, install it. You have your facilities. A lot of times when people are talking about costs of hosting, they're not thinking about the fact that we ideally want it to be redundant. We want to have a good fire suppression system. We want to have good internet pipe that's coming into it so that we can have proper bandwidth. All of those things are very expensive, and when you think about over time, I mean, this is why the cloud has become such a popular thought. So the cloud is great. I mean, if we look over here, there's clouds all over there. The cloud is the solution to everything, right? Well, there's tons of ROI in the cloud, and there's tons of possibility. But the problem with the cloud is it's become a really powerful buzzword, and I think there's a lot of confusion at times where people rush to the cloud too quickly without really understanding what it is they're jumping into. And the problem that ends up happening is when people, the cloud's a great thing, and we want people to have a great experience and choose the right solution for their company, and so that they're happy all along the way. We don't want somebody to jump in too quick and then decide this was a bad solution. Now we got to backpedal and the cloud's terrible, because it's not. The cloud's wonderful. But like I said, why are we here? I spend so many times having people ask me, what does the cloud mean? And it's a great buzzword. I mean, we hear it all the time, and everyone is exploring it. Every single company that I go to, every single CIO, CTO, infrastructure guy, developer, everybody's thinking about it. But what do organizations really think that they can achieve by going to the cloud? A lot of times I've talked to some of my friends who have chosen to go to the cloud. I said, why do you go to the cloud? They say, because I don't want to manage servers anymore. And that's a great thing. We've talked about all the hardware and everything, and all the wasteful hardware. But when you go to the cloud, you can save significantly on infrastructure. But there's potential. There's pros and cons depending on which type of cloud you choose and the different options that you have in each one of those different types of cloud. But I'm a SharePoint guy. So I also want to talk to you a little bit about what does it mean to have SharePoint in the cloud, because we'll hear about Office 365, and we'll hear about lots of other options, and there's lots of options. So we want to lay it out on the table, make sure you guys have a good understanding of where we're at with SharePoint in the cloud. So if you go in and you look up cloud computing, here's the book definition of what cloud computing means. I mean, you can read that, but essentially the first part of that is exactly what it means. Cloud computing is the delivery of a computing as a service rather than as a product. So basically, when you think about a cloud, I think in the most simple sense that a cloud means that you're getting your data out of your premises and you're hosting it somewhere else, whether that's in something like a rack space where you've got us managing your servers, or whether you've got it at like an Office 365 or somewhere in between. There's lots of different variants, and that's what we're going to talk about. But cloud does not come in one flavor, it comes in many flavors. So these are the various types of cloud that we're going to cover at a high level. We've got infrastructure as a service, which I guess you could probably shorten to IaaS, but nobody calls it that. But infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. And I'm going to cover each one of those, so I'm not really going to go over each one of these right this second. But as we break it down, these are the big buckets that you're going to hear most of the cloud experts talk about. So let's start with infrastructure as a service. And I love analogies, and so in order to help you understand what infrastructure as a service means, I've broken it down into a nice little house analogy, or your dwelling analogy. So infrastructure as a service, you can think about, it's like a management company taking care of all the maintenance of your house, right? So in infrastructure as a service, it's your house, you do what you want with it, whatever, but the yard and everything, the yard and the utilities and everything like that, you got someone that can take care of that for you if it breaks. So from a practical perspective, when you think about that from a SharePoint or a hosting perspective, those are companies like Rackspace, JR1, FPWeb are all the type of companies that do that, where you pay them a fee and they go in and they have boxes in a data center somewhere. They manage those boxes, they manage the backup, they manage all your bandwidth and everything else. And it's almost like having your servers on premises, but they're actually in someone else's data center. So you get the benefit of someone else managing your stuff, but you still retain full control over everything in